Let me ask you a question most traders avoid answering honestly. Could you sit through 8 losing trades in a row? Not once, not as a freak accident, but multiple times every year, knowing it's not a mistake, just how your system works. Because if you're trading a 3-to-1 risk-reward system, that scenario isn't rare. It's not bad luck, it's normal behavior. And that single reality explains why so many retail traders burn out, spiral emotionally, and blow accounts, while professional firms quietly operate with a very different philosophy. Despite what you've heard 1,000 times, professional trading firms are not obsessed with wide risk-reward ratios. They're not religiously chasing 3-to-1 setups. They're not sitting around rejecting perfectly good trades because the math doesn't look impressive enough on paper. Yet, scroll through trading education online, and you'll hear the same mantra repeated endlessly. Never risk more than you can make. Always go for at least 3-to-1. You only need to be right 25% of the time. It sounds smart. It sounds professional. Equitable sets most traders up for psychological collapse. Today, we're going to break down why the advice that appears mathematically superior often becomes emotionally and practically destructive. Yes, we'll look at the math, but far more importantly, we'll look at what happens to your mind, your behavior, your confidence, and your equity curve when theory collides with reality. Because trading isn't done on spreadsheets, it's done by human brains under stress. On paper, the logic behind wide risk-reward ratios is flawless. Risk $100 to make $300, and suddenly you only need to win 25% of the time to break even. Win slightly more than that, and you're profitable. End of discussion. Except it's not the end. It's barely the beginning. Politically, because that math assumes something that never exists in real trading: perfect emotional execution over time. Markets don't distribute wins and losses evenly. They cluster them. They compress pain. They stretch uncertainty. And when you're actually placing trades, day after day, week after week, that neat equation becomes psychologically irrelevant. What matters isn't whether a system can work. What matters is whether a human can live inside it long enough for it to work. And this is where the 1-to-1 system doesn't just compete with the 3-to-1 approach, it overwhelms it. Let's talk about the one thing trading education avoids like the plague: losing streaks. Not one loss, not two. I'm talking about those stretches where nothing works. Every setup fails, every stop gets hit, every ounce of confidence drains out of your body. These streaks are not anomalies. They are mathematical certainties. And how often they occur depends entirely on your win rate. Let's compare two traders. Sarah trades a 1-to-1 risk-reward system. She risks $100 to make $100. Her win rate is 55%. Nothing flashy, nothing impressive, just slightly better than a coin flip. Mike trades a 3-to-1 system. He risks $100 to make $300. His win rate is 35%. That's well above the 25% break-even threshold everyone celebrates. On paper, both systems can be profitable. In real life, they are lived in completely different psychological universes. Harry loses nearly 2 out of every 3 trades. That means long losing streaks, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses in a row, isn't a statistical black swan. It's a regular occurrence. Sarah, by contrast, wins more than she loses. Her losing streaks are shorter, less frequent, and far easier to recover from emotionally. 3 or 4 losses in a row might sting, but they don't break her. And that difference changes everything. What losing repeatedly does to your brain. Clinging after Mike's 4th consecutive loss, doubt creeps in. After his 7th, he starts dissecting his entire strategy. After his 10th, he's searching forums, questioning market conditions, wondering if he's wasting his life. Here's the brutal truth. Nothing is wrong with his system. It's functioning exactly as designed. But his brain doesn't know that. Your brain is not a probability engine. It's a survival mechanism. It evolved to detect threats, avoid pain, and find patterns, whether those patterns are real or not. Crimson losses trigger the same physiological response as physical danger. Heart rate increases, adrenaline spikes, stress hormones flood your system. Research has shown that the frequency of losses matters far more than their size. A trader who loses $1,000 occasionally experiences manageable stress. A trader who loses $1,000 repeatedly, despite winning more overall, experiences severe cognitive impairment. Why? Because unpredictability combined with repetition tells your brain you're not safe. Automatic is where dopamine enters the picture. Your brain releases dopamine not when you win, but when you win more than expected. A higher win rate system creates a stable dopamine environment. You win often enough that your nervous system stays regulated. Confiscated. A low win rate system creates a dopamine drought. Your brain keeps expecting wins that don't arrive. That repeated disappointment doesn't just feel bad, it literally shuts down rational decision-making and amplifies fear. You become more impulsive, more emotional, more reactive. In simple terms, losing repeatedly makes you worse at trading, even if the system itself is sound. There's a psychological phenomenon called learned helplessness. It occurs when an individual experiences repeated negative outcomes they feel unable to control. Eventually, they stop trying. This doesn't show up as panic, it shows up as apathy. Traders in this state either quit entirely or start taking reckless trades because they no longer believe their actions matter. This is where many 3-to-1 traders die, not financially at first, but psychologically. They abandon their system right before it would have worked. They sabotage themselves during normal variance. They mistake emotional exhaustion for strategic insight. And once that belief sets in, it's incredibly hard to reverse. Now let's flip the lens. Winning does more than pad your account. It changes your biology. There's a phenomenon known as the winner's effect. When individuals experience success, hormonal changes occur that increase confidence, pattern recognition, and decision-making speed. Winning creates a positive feedback loop. Traders who win early and often tend to trade better later. Traders stuck in losing streaks operate under elevated stress, which impairs judgment. This is where 1-to-1 systems shine. Sarah wins frequently enough to stay psychologically sharp. Even after losses, she gets reinforcement quickly. Her confidence stays intact. Her execution remains consistent. Mike, even after a big win, knows more losses are statistically likely. He never stabilizes. He can't maintain momentum. His emotional state is constantly reset to 0. The difference between a 55% win rate and a 35% win rate isn't linear. Forex, it's exponential in its psychological consequences. Now picture the equity curves. Sarah's curve resembles a staircase. Up a little, down a little, up a bit more. The trend is visible. The pain is tolerable. Mike's curve looks like a roller coaster. Long drops, sudden spikes, massive swings in emotion. Even when profitable, it feels broken. There's a reason this matters. Drawdowns don't just hurt accounts, they hurt behavior. Studies measuring drawdown-related stress consistently show that volatile equity curves cause significantly more psychological strain than smoother ones, even when returns are identical. You don't trade your expected value. You trade your equity curve. Nowhere is this difference more unforgiving than in prop firm challenges. Strict drawdown limits don't care about long-term profitability. They care about what happens right now. A trader with a low win rate is statistically far more likely to violate drawdown rules, even with a profitable system. A higher win rate trader experiences smaller drawdowns, more breathing room, and far higher pass rates. This isn't opinion, it's probability meeting constraint. There's another hidden advantage to tighter risk-reward systems: opportunity density. Higher frequency setups mean more data, faster learning, and quicker adaptation to market changes. You gain clarity sooner. You refine faster. You build confidence through repetition. Low-frequency systems delay feedback. They stretch uncertainty. They make it harder to distinguish skill from luck. And in a constantly shifting market environment, slow feedback is lethal. What professionals actually optimize for? Extinguishable traders don't worship ratios. They optimize for consistency, execution quality, and psychological sustainability. Wide risk-reward trades absolutely have their place, but they're contextual, not dogmatic. They emerge from market conditions, not ideology. The obsession with fixed ratios persists in retail trading because it sounds elegant, because it's easy to explain, because it sells hope. But effective trading isn't about sounding impressive. It's about surviving long enough for your edge to matter. Best trading system isn't the one with the prettiest math. It's the one you can execute without breaking yourself. A 1-to-1 system with a solid edge often outperforms a 3-to-1 system in real life, not because it's mathematically superior, but because it's human compatible. It keeps your psychology intact, your confidence stable, your behavior disciplined. And that's what actually compounds. Stop chasing impressive ratios. Start building systems you can live inside. Because in trading, survival isn't a consolation prize. It's the entire game.